All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie McCaskill, and I am the marketing director here at Coalmarch. I'm going to be your MC today. We are so glad to have you here with us. Before we jump in, just a couple of housekeeping notes. First, the session is being recorded, so you'll get the full recording delivered straight to your inbox 30 minutes after this ends. The chat is open. We absolutely encourage questions throughout. You can drop them in at any time. We'll do our best to answer all of the questions we get today. If we don't get to your question during the session, don't worry. We'll make sure that we follow up so that you have everything that you need. Another reminder, today's session is informal. It's designed to be conversational, so don't be shy. We'd love to get your questions answered. So please send those on into the chat box. Before we get started into how to make the most out of Google in 2025, we do have a special guest today that I want to kick things off by introducing him. Some of you may know Jeff, some of you may not, but we're really excited to welcome Jeff, our new CEO. He's been with us for a few years now, and he's brought a ton of new energy, fresh perspective, and we're really excited to have him on board with us. He's just here to say a few things about his role, the new Coalmarch, and why webinars like this one are so impactful for our customers and just people in the industry. So Jeff, take it away.
Thanks, Katie. I will keep it very short because I'm not the important one in the room today, but great to see everyone. Good morning. Yes, I'm the new CEO of Coalmarch, but I've been around for about 4 years as a GM with WorkWave when Coalmarch was underneath WorkWave. If you haven't heard, we recently sold. So we are now a private entity and we are very eager to grow and get better in the industry. One of the things that we consistently heard from clients, non-clients, and just the industry in general was that we started to slack on our thought leadership in the industry. We weren't bringing people the educational tools that they needed to get better every day. So now that we're back on our own, we're dedicated to it. We're going to be bringing you, I think, at least twice a month, new webinars, new content through our social platforms that you can see too. Everyone is welcome. We even have a few competitors that have joined. You're welcome to. Everyone's here to learn. Our mission is to educate our clients, educate the market, and help you get a little bit of a competitive advantage, especially when it comes to marketing. We know you're in very competitive markets, pest and green. So we're here to help. That's what we're here to do. And hopefully everyone can get a little something out of this. Going forward, we need your feedback. So we want you to tell us how we're doing on the content. We'd love to have your ideas on things that you would like to hear about from a marketing perspective or just from an industry perspective, items that are out there. Filling 2 webinars a month it's going to take a lot of thought. So we're going to need your help with that. Anytime you can reach out to me directly. Katie, let's send out my contact information after this, but you can always reach me at jeff@coalmarch.com. That's just jeff@coalmarch.com. And I look forward to hearing from everyone. So that being said, I'll turn it back to the experts.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. We're really excited about the webinar series and just everything that's coming ahead for Coalmarch. So let's get into today's session. We are lucky to be joined by 3 of our in-house subject matter experts. These people live and breathe the stuff that we're going to talk about every single day. So they're here to share some insights, practical takeaways, and answer, again, any of your questions live. So go ahead and start submitting those into the chat. So first up, we have our Director of SEO, Tess Howard. She is our go-to expert on all things SEO. Next, we have Danielle Shander, who is our lead digital advertising strategist. She'll share how to navigate paid advertising in 2025 without just throwing more money at the problem. And then we also have Rachel Betterbid, who is our vice president of digital marketing, who ties everything together in a cohesive digital marketing game plan. So thank you, ladies, for joining us today. And we will go ahead and get into a few of our questions. Let's see. All right. So let's kick things off, Danielle, with you. What are some of the most effective paid strategies that you're seeing right now for local services businesses like pest control and lawn care?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the most effective paid advertising strategies right now for local service businesses, especially for the pest and green spaces, I think it's all about visibility, intent, and conversion. We're seeing really strong results from companies that are leveraging a mix of different platforms, mainly Google search and local service ads, or you'll hear me refer to them as LSAs. Both of these platforms capture high intent searchers looking for quick and vetted options. So for pest and green especially, I think seasonality and urgency matter, especially right now. Your businesses are likely at the start or at the height of your peak season. So having that messaging in your ads and on your sites that really convey that urgency and speak to things like same-day service, Saturday and weekend appointments, and great monetary offers can make a really big impact and set you apart from your competitors. I think some of the most successful pest and lawn care companies right now are also investing in long-term consistency and testing when it comes to paid ads specifically. The best performers aren't just running ads during their busy season. They've been running them since the beginning of the year, even during downtimes. And this is essentially to build brand presence year round, which can ultimately keep your costs more stable and capture people at multiple stages in the marketing funnel. These businesses are also constantly testing new strategies like ad copy and landing pages and bidding strategies to identify the best strategies for achieving their business goals. And I think, another part to this too is using their data. So using your CRM data, using data on which zip codes are producing the most profitable customers, and really using that data to fine tune your targeting and budget allocation is something that can help your marketing be successful year round as well. From my personal experience, the closer your company is able to work with your marketing team, the more effective your marketing will be. So as advertisers, we can really only be as good as the data that we're given. So any insights that you and your team on the business side have on your customers, what's working and what isn't, all of that information is extremely beneficial and can help us better guide your marketing to make more strategic decisions for your business.
I also, if it's okay, if I pop in,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
also think a really good thing to know is to not have set it and forget it PPC campaigns in particular. I think this is very common practice for agencies that have a lot of customers. They kind of set up your PPC, especially with automation just becoming so popular, especially in Google. They kind of have automated campaigns set up and they set your budget, and then they forget it. And there's not a lot of ongoing optimization that happens. And while it's definitely good to leverage the automation that Google offers, there's a lot of value in that, and it can help get better performance from like a cost per lead perspective. Set it and forget it doesn't work, right? You need to be in your PPC account, optimizing bids, assessing where your budget is going, assessing those KPIs like cost per lead, and also just taking your business goals into perspective, right? Making sure that you're spending money on keywords and services that are going to drive long-term value for your business, not just, whatever keywords get the most search value. So that's something that we hear about a lot, I think, from our customers coming from agencies that had more of a set it and forget it approach when it comes to paid advertising. And in my experience, I mean, you definitely need to be, as an advertiser, you need to be in the mix, managing these campaigns day to day, week to week, so forth.
Awesome. Thank you both for that insight. Rachel, that kind of leads me into my next question, which is for you. How do I stay ahead of competitors in a very saturated digital market?
Yeah, so this is a great question, and honestly, one that we hear a lot, especially in an industry that has become, pretty commodified in the last 5 to 10 years, I would say. I think me starting out as a marketer, 10 plus years ago, the industry and the landscape looked totally different for lawn and pest. It wasn't nearly as commodified as it is now. And with all of the competition, all of these companies are kind of doing the same thing from a pest control, lawn care, landscaping, right? Like the outcome that you're selling is the same across every company, across all of your competitors. And it's hard to truly differentiate. And, a lot of people are shopping based on price. And of course, price isn't the only thing that matters. But all that to say that in order to stay ahead of your competitors, I mean, you definitely have to think long and hard about differentiation. And when I say that, I mean, what value are you bringing, or what kind of customer experience are you bringing to the table or creating that is going to be different from your competitors? good customer service is not enough of a differentiation. One, because someone has to actually be your customer to experience that. So it's not nearly as tangible to prospective customers. But this is hard in the pest and lawn industry specifically, because it is hard to come up with ideas of how do I truly differentiate, right? In other industries, it might be a little bit easier, but just some things off the top of my head, obviously eco-friendly, environmentally friendly, or just being very focused on, the environment, that could definitely be one differentiation. And, depending on your target customer and the market that you're in, that may be a good choice. It may not, but even things like just, being a more purpose-driven company. I remember a couple of years ago, we're all based in Raleigh, North Carolina, for those of you who don't know, but there was a company in Greensboro, North Carolina, that kind of went viral. It was a lawn care company in Greensboro that their kind of mission and purpose as a company was to be committed to hiring and helping young people secure employment that were having trouble getting employment. And that was kind of part of their brand, was they are just very purpose driven, very community driven. And so that's just one example of a way to really differentiate yourself, either through purpose, philanthropic ventures. Also, we all know Tom's Shoes, they donate a pair of shoes to children for every shoe that's bought, right? That's kind of a more philanthropic angle to differentiate. Convenience, whether that's online booking, texting, brand identity, just like maybe having a brand that's funny and leans into humor, whether that's on social media or in how you communicate to your customers, right? There's a lot of different ways to differentiate. And I think it's often an afterthought for a lot of business owners. It's kind of just, let's just sell, let's make money, let's keep our customers, right? But they don't think about kind of, how do we truly differentiate? And I think that is to stay ahead and to survive in such a commodified market. Differentiation is super, super important, as well as customer loyalty. How are you incentivizing customers to stay with you long term? I also realize these things are not digital focused. This is more brand focused, right? But all of it lends to better digital marketing performance and just marketing performance overall. We don't see a lot of pest control companies or lawn care companies that have true customer loyalty programs. I know I've been a pest control customer for going on 5 years, and it's never been celebrated that I'm a customer for 5 years from the company that I work with. I won't name them, but whether it's things like anniversary gifts, thank you cards, discounts for when someone's been a customer for 2 years versus 5 years versus 10 years, referral contests, whoever refers the most customers in the month of May gets, a $250 gift card, right? Like these things that really build long-term loyalty from your customers. Brand building is another big one. Obviously you want to have a brand identity, but from there you want to build it. And it's an investment that is not going to immediately pay off, but I kind of think of it like a 401k, in the sense that, as you get bigger, you should be upping the investment that you're making into your branding and creating brand awareness for your business every year that you make more money. Up that percentage of, what percentage of your overall budget is going specifically towards brand building. And Danielle kind of mentioned it before, but just testing new platforms, especially when it comes to paid advertising. I think the people that stay ahead and that do good work in the digital marketing field are just, they're open to testing new things and taking risks, whether that's new channels, whether it's different kinds of campaigns. Competition is, extremely fierce when it comes to Google. So what are different areas in which you can get in front of prospective customers, whether it's, different apps like Nextdoor, or it's Reddit, or it's YouTube, or it's social media, right? Like, I think knowing your target audience and where are they spending time when they're on their phone, because we're all on our phones so much, and getting in front of people in those different platforms. And with that, just diversifying your marketing portfolio. I mean, Google is one of the biggest ways to drive leads, but it shouldn't be the only way that you are driving leads in your business. That's, you're putting a lot of eggs in one basket, and I'm all about diversification. So.
Awesome. Some really good perspective, RB, Rachel. Thank you for sharing that with us. We do have an audience question. So Tess, I'm going to throw this one your way. How has AI search engines impacted the norm in SEO strategies?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Matt, for sending that in the chat. AI search engines are definitely the wave of the future. I think as more and more of them appear, we are going to have to adapt as digital marketers, not just from an SEO perspective, but I imagine from a paid ads perspective as well. We're going to have to look into how they are choosing who is showing up on those search engines. For SEO specifically, a lot of what we're seeing, the AI search engines and Google's AI overview aren't that drastically different from best practices that we currently have for ranking in organic searches. AI search engines really prioritize authoritative websites that answer users' questions very directly. So things that we've been testing out and things we are looking into is how we structure content and how we are answering customer questions so that Google can easily scan through our content and take a look at what we're trying to educate customers on and pick our websites as the top search result for those AI search engines. Other factors that play into it are also backlinks that you get to your website and really showing that you should be a trusted source of information on specific topics.
If I can jump into, I think AI search engines, so ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever it is that you're using, I think that the impact that is going to have on other industries is going to be significantly larger, at least in the next, few years than the lawn and pest industry. I would say, a lot of people are using ChatGPT to help them find information that they would normally have to scan 15 websites to find, right? Like it's just a more efficient experience versus using it to find a local company to buy pest control from, right? And that's not to say that won't change in the future. But I think the biggest impact that it's having just like broadly on SEO is you're definitely going to see websites that are more information based are probably going to get less and less traffic every year because people are not, searching on Google for longer tail searches and finding information, more like inquiring on information versus purchase intent. They're going to see less traffic year over year, but I don't know that it will immediately impact the lawn and pest industry like it will those websites that are more information based. But those are definitely, if they aren't already, are probably going to see a reduction in impressions and traffic and so forth.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. Matt, let us know if you have any follow-ups in the chat. We'll be happy to answer those. Let's shift gears a little bit for a second. One challenge that we're all facing in different ways is rising costs, particularly with our cost per leads. So Danielle, I'd love to throw this one over to you. How do I stay ahead of competitors? Nope, not that one. With cost per leads rising across platforms, how can companies stay competitive without just throwing more money at Google?
Yeah, this is such a relevant question right now. And we obviously have to acknowledge that cost per clicks and cost per leads continue to rise year over year, month over month. It seems like as competition continues to enter the digital space, those costs just continue to climb. So that is a really big challenge of how do we combat that and how do we differentiate ourselves amongst competitors in a really saturated market. So I think a lot of this goes back to what Rachel was talking about on differentiating your business from other businesses in your space. But it also goes back to diversifying your marketing as well. So exploring new platforms. But there are some things that we can do in Google search specifically to kind of mitigate those costs and keep from just continuing to throw money at the same problem if we aren't seeing results. I think one of the best things that you can do in this instance is really tighten up your targeting and go after those more qualified leads, those users who are searching for exactly the services that you're offering, and really doing some analysis of your Google search account and the keywords you're pulling in to make sure you're targeting the right customers that are the most likely to convert immediately and sign up for service. Some ways that you can do this, ways that I have found are really good practice are adjusting your service area and your ad scheduling. So maybe focusing your budget on some of your top performing zip codes and neighborhoods with higher close rates or a higher customer lifetime value. So again, this goes back to what I was saying, using your data that you have from your CRM and the customers who are converting, leveraging that data and putting that back into Google Ads to figure out where are you the most successful and where are you the most efficient. efficient and continuing to capitalize on that. As far as ad scheduling, I think using the ad schedule available in Google search is really important to avoid wasting budget during those off hours when maybe no one's available to answer your phone system. Responsiveness is a really important factor for these businesses, not just for different ranking factors, but just in general as like a best practice for a business. You want to be accessible to customers. And so if that means only running ads during your business hours when you know you're going to be able to field those calls, I think that's a really great way to mitigate those costs being spent on clicks and leads coming in when your team is not widely available to answer to those. Another strategy here is utilizing what's called negative keywords in Google Ads. So this tool can help us to filter out unqualified search terms as Google continues to broaden its knowledge of what it thinks pest and lawn services are. Google doesn't exactly know what these services are, right? You guys are the experts here. You know exactly what lawn care is. You know that it tends to differ from lawn mowing. And obviously there's a lot that goes into lawn care like fertilization and weed control, but Google doesn't necessarily know that. It has a more broad perception of what lawn care and pest control services are. So I think using negative keywords to block out those unqualified searches that you see coming in from users is a really important step to stay on top of and continue optimizing so that you're making sure your ads are showing in front of the most qualified users possible. And then this goes hand in hand with improving your ad copy and landing pages as well. You can better pre-qualify clicks and leads by, just tailoring the messaging towards the leads that you actually want to drive. So for example, in your ad copy, putting things like pet safe treatments or service starting at $50 a month. I think being really transparent in the value that your company is offering and having that showcase outwards towards users can help better pre-qualify people and make sure that you're driving people who are actually interested in those offers, and especially if it's like a price point that you're putting in your ads, people that are actually able to commit to paying that. Same with landing pages, like I just said, this can help reduce wasted spend as well. If you are tailoring your landing pages, again, having that consistent messaging along with your ads, making sure that your landing pages are tailored towards quick conversions and really giving users the information that they're looking for. So if a customer is searching for termite treatment, you don't want to send them to a pest control landing page, or you don't want to send them to your home page. You want to send them to a page that's tailored specifically towards termite treatment so that they can quickly scroll, get the information that they're looking for, have trust in you as a business and in your services, and hopefully convert even quicker.
Awesome. I think we have a couple of follow-up questions, Danielle, to that. So first, we're going to start with Ross. How can Coalmarch help us with other platforms outside of Google?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there are several ad types and platforms outside of just Google that we're still seeing are pretty underused in the pest and lawn spaces. And I think exploring these can give your business a really competitive edge, especially in those very crowded, saturated markets. So I'd love to go through a couple of the ones that I would personally recommend and the ones that our team at Coalmarch specifically can help with. The first is probably the one that you all are most familiar with, if I could assume, and that is social ads. So posting ads on social platforms such as Meta, which includes Facebook and Instagram, as well as Nextdoor ads. And why these platforms are really great is Facebook in particular is still the most widely used social media platform in the United States. So it continues to be a great place to build really local brand awareness. Nextdoor is pretty similar, but I would say Nextdoor has an even more qualified audience here. If you guys aren't familiar with what Nextdoor is, it's a hyper-local and community-driven app. social media app, which makes it a great natural fit for local service providers. The median average household income for Nextdoor users from 2024 was around 90K, and about 75% of users on that platform are confirmed homeowners. So this makes it an extremely, extremely qualified audience for home services like lawn and pest. And I think there's a lot more that businesses can do to tap into audiences like that. Both Nextdoor and Facebook also offer retargeting options as well. So if someone visits your website but doesn't call or fill out a form right away, you can bring those users back with a friendly reminder ad using information that we can get from them the first time that they click on your website. So this just helps to reinforce your brand across those multiple touch points throughout the buyer's journey. Another really great platform that we have started leveraging for our clients are display ads through programmatic. And this can be done through a couple of different platforms, but our team at CoalMarch specifically uses a platform called StackAdapt. This is a really great way to increase brand visibility or support, again, a multi-touch strategy. And programmatic display can be a really powerful tool when it's done right. This platform works because we can target homeowners in very specific zip codes or even income brackets, further qualifying those audiences that we're sending ads to. We can also target people who are actively researching different pest control topics, and there are retargeting options through StackAdapt display ads as well. The cool thing about these display ads is that they will also show across thousands of websites, phone, mobile apps, and even smart TVs. So it's not just through Google's network. Your brand and your messaging is being pushed out to a ton of different places. And I think just having those placement options is a really, really valuable tool that we can do more to leverage for the pest and green space. Another one too, this is through Google still, but I think it targets different placements than just traditional Google search PPC ads. So I want to touch on those as well, and those include video ads and performance max campaigns. Both of these ad types and campaign types offer expanded reach within Google, so they can show on different places like Gmail, YouTube, Google Maps, and just Google's expanded network through its search partners, which includes a lot of different, similar to StackAdapt, a lot of different sites and mobile apps. So video ads in particular, you don't need huge budget to run these. Even just having a short, simple video showcasing before and after results or customer testimonials or just a brief overview of your business can really help with, again, that diversification. And it can help us to target locally through those video ads in that more creative format. Similarly, Performance Max, that's a campaign where we can leverage showcasing ads on different places like search, YouTube, display, Gmail, all of those different placements. And that, very similarly to video ads, can use creative format. So it uses either video or your branded static images. If you have really high quality images or videos, leveraging those through any way we can through paid advertising can be really beneficial for pushing your brand messaging out towards new audiences. So just want to emphasize with all of that, I know that was a lot of different platforms, but I want to emphasize that these platforms aren't necessarily where people go to directly search for pest control or lawn care, but they're great for creating demand and staying top of mind, and potentially even retargeting people who have already been considering you or have already visited your site. So I think just kind of layering this level of visibility and leveraging these outbound platforms along with your inbound, which is going to be your Google search and your local service ads, that creates a very cohesive marketing strategy where you're targeting a lot of different touch points and a lot of different users at different points in their own personal buying journey. So Definitely would love to talk about these platforms all day, but I'll just do a quick plug. Our next webinar in this series on May 8th will actually go more in depth on all of these platforms and more. We'll go into diversifying your marketing strategy through outbound ads. So I definitely recommend for you guys to check it out if any of those are interesting to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Danielle. Ross, let us know if you have any follow-up questions in the chat. And Danielle, you started to talk about Performance Max, and we actually have another question from another Matt. I'll read the whole thing, but we've noticed that CPCs are often significantly lower on Performance Max compared to traditional search campaigns. From your perspective, how does the lead quality and effectiveness of Performance Max stack up against search? Are you seeing Performance Max campaigns replace search in any scenarios, or are search campaigns still just as critical, if not more so, for driving qualified leads?
Yeah, Matt, that's an awesome question. I will try to definitely address all points to this, but overall, I want to touch on that last part of seeing PMAX campaigns replace search. I don't think that that would be good for your strategy. I think that some of the best strategies we've seen from successful companies, especially in the home services space, is continuing to leverage multiple platforms at once. And I think PMAX operates more like an outbound platform where it pushes your messaging out towards potential users. And where I think that's really great combined with search ads is that traditional search ads through Google bring people in based on how they're actively searching. So your traditional Google search is capturing people who are actively looking for lawn care in my area or termite treatment near me. So we're bringing in those people that already have the need and maybe more urgency compared to people that your Performance Max campaign might be targeting, where they might be interested in different pest control topics. They might be having more informational searches, but they're not necessarily searching with that same level of urgency or intent as somebody who is actively ready to buy a service right now. So I think combining the two offers a really great strategy because you're capturing a lot of different audiences at once. And then for those outbound leads, even if they don't turn into leads right away down the line, this offers the potential for those customers who have seen your videos or your images on different sites or mobile apps that they've been on. When they do come to a point where they have that more immediate need, they'll kind of do that brand recall and remember your brand name. Especially if you have some diversification or some special offers that are unique to you. They'll remember that and then hopefully convert later down the line.
Yeah, I think PMAX is, it's helping you target top and middle of the funnel, but search is more bottom of the funnel, right? Like exactly like Danielle said, right? It's people that are ready to purchase or getting pretty dang close to it. So I don't see it replacing that in the sense that, I mean, it depends on your budget as well. The bigger the budget, the more you want to kind of hit that entire funnel because you have the means to. But if you have a smaller budget, I mean, you're going to want to concentrate that more towards, bottom of the funnel and what's going to, your budget's going to go, what's going to make your budget go as far as possible as far as sales. So I don't think it's an either or kind of thing, but I think it definitely depends on your budget.
Awesome. Thank you for that question, Matt. Let us know if you have any more. Let's shift gears for a second and let's go over to Tess. We've already talked a little bit about AI and the impact on SEO, but Tess, does AI generated content hurt my website's chance of ranking?
Good question, Katie. I know AI generated content has definitely been a hot topic among a lot of our customers or just in the industry in general. My short answer to that is no. AI generated content will not hurt your website's chances of ranking on any search engine. To kind of explain that and why I don't think it's any type of worry that anyone should have. I think Google really understands that AI and AI generated content is really a beast that they are not going to beat. It is the wave of the future. And if they don't adopt it now and don't figure out how to keep their search engine as credible as possible with ranking AI generated content, I think they're going to fall behind and they run the risk of other search engines coming in and really taking over that space, and people navigating more to AI type of searches to get their information. So I think to stay ahead of the curve, they really have to figure out how to work with AI content and not against it. But I think the thing that may impact websites is that fully AI generated content without any type of human interaction to it, and just only having AI create that content without editing, without optimizing it for SEO or optimizing it for the user, that's where it can be hurtful. Google, we've already seen a push from Google with all of their recent algorithm updates to focus more in on helpful content. So what that means is that it really answers the user's question and it is something that is beneficial to them. And I think we're going to continue to see that into the future, where Google is focusing in on helpful content and making sure that their search engine is delivering the best results they can possibly deliver, so that they can keep users interacting with Google and using it as a search engine, as opposed to going to one of these other competitors that are popping up in the market.
I think no matter what, Google does not want crappy content, right? And a human can write crappy content, or AI can, right? So as long as the content is helpful, I don't really think Google cares who wrote it.
Yeah. And I think AI is also a great way to integrate and like utilize it to know more about the markets, put more factual pieces of information in there, and really create pretty awesome content. You can input different user personas, you can input different information and have it create this content that is far beyond what I think a human could create on their own.
Awesome. I know I use AI every single day in both my personal and professional life. So I know AI has been a hot topic for the last couple of years, and I'm sure we'll just continue to see that evolve. So thank you for that insight. We've got a couple of audience questions. Let's see. Luke says, we are located in Southern Maine. How do you adjust your strategies for more rural markets?
I can jump in. I think that this goes beyond digital and what Coalmarch does. And again, this is more from a business perspective. In general, the clients that we have that are in more rural markets tend to struggle with volume the most, right? Because more rural markets tend to probably have a lower population. So just numbers wise, there's less opportunity. And so with that, your digital strategy definitely needs to take that in mind, and it also your business strategy overall. So we have some clients that are in more rural markets, or maybe they're not by a huge metropolitan city that is actively growing, right? Like new people moving there every year, new homeowners. And so they do have to get creative with, well, if I don't want to expand my service area and get volume from doing that, like how do I grow? And part of it is, is your business structured for this kind of market? Because if there is no volume, if there's no demand, there can't be volume, and you need to grow. So where does that volume come from, right? So from a marketing perspective, Danielle had alluded to it with some of the other platforms that you can use, but it may be more about creating interest than capitalizing on demand, right? Because if the demand's not there, there aren't hundreds and thousands of searches that are happening for whatever it is that you're selling, you kind of need to focus more on how do I create interest? And so your approach with that may be more outbound focused. It may be more focused on competitor stealing campaigns. It may be more focused on getting super involved in your local community and more exposure. But from a business perspective, it may be focused more on, okay, if you can't expand your service area so that just the volume can expand with it, or the opportunity can expand with it, then, how can the services that you offer maximize revenue, right? Like if you only offer lawn care in a very rural market and there's not a lot of opportunity there, maybe you should consider getting into pest control so you can cross-sell and there's just more revenue opportunity for you to sell even just within your existing customer base. So I think that there's a lot of things to think about from just a business perspective of if the volume is low, which again tends to be the biggest issue that we see with clients that are in rural markets, is a lot of what we do from an inbound perspective relies on search volume. It relies on people searching, right? So you can rank number one for all of the keywords in all of your markets. But if people aren't going to Google and searching, that's not going to, amount to anything for your business. And so the approach definitely needs to be to understand your market and understand how your business needs to evolve with that market. Again, whether it's expanding your service area, whether it's adding new services so that you can get more revenue, squeeze more revenue out of the customers that you do have, or it's more outbound. It's more, again, like interest generation versus capitalizing on demand. I think there's a lot of things to consider, and it's, it'll look different company to company, but.
Awesome. We'll jump right into Matt's next question. In regards to rising ad costs, can you share what you have learned as far as costs increasing over the past few years and what you are expecting in the near future?
Yeah, it's definitely, I feel like the shift has come post-pandemic, right? I think we saw a big trend 2020 and 2021 and realized, at least through March and the clients that we work with, that pest control and lawn care companies were pretty recession resilient. And so after that, we've just seen, I would say from 2022, 2023 on, we've seen a rise in cost per clicks. We've seen competition continuing to enter this space, which continues to put upward pressure on everyone, especially when it comes to costs. And personally, I think that we can probably continue to see that rise, maybe not at quite such an exponential rate, but I definitely think that there's continued pressure and there's continued competition in a lot of these markets that we're servicing. So I think it comes back to, in terms of like how to combat that, a lot of that comes from the things that we've already touched on, diversifying your business and making sure that you stand out among your competitors. I think that includes investing in brand awareness and maybe testing out ads or posts in these other platforms like social media. I also think too, something that I touched on in a previous answer, but didn't go as much in depth, is focusing more on building your video and creative strategies in-house, so that we can leverage those on the marketing side as well. I think having really high quality branded images and even videos, if you're able to make that work, that just adds to your brand awareness. And there's a lot of different opportunities that we can use those images and that creative through ads and through the organic side as well on the site. I know, like, from personal experience, watching the SERP change over the years has been really incredible. And I feel like it's continuing to push, at least on Google's SERP, they're continuing to push it towards a creative first SERP. You'll see, there's a lot more videos showing up on the search engine results page, a lot more photos, and Google's pushing for adding logos, things like that, especially with LSA too. We tend to see businesses with really high quality images showing up more frequently at the top of those search results pages. So I think that's a really important point to add to that as well.
I'll also add that for those of you who aren't aware, the US government has initiated antitrust cases against Google right now they're currently being tried for essentially being a monopoly. And so I think in the next few years, this may not be in the next 1 to 2 years, but when we look, 5 to 10 years out, like I do think Google will be taken down as a monopoly. And I think that we all only stand to benefit from that. I don't think that will be a bad thing. I think monopolies are not great for consumers, right? It's great for the business, but it's not great for consumers. And in this case, you guys as business owners are the consumer to Google. And they can get away with cost per clicks going up. And because they are a monopoly, and all businesses, especially local businesses, want to advertise on Google. So I think that as far as what we can expect in the near future, I think that there's some promising things that could come from this trial. And like, some digital marketers may be scared because it's like, oh gosh, what do we do? What's our approach if it's not, Google anymore? But I look at it through a lens of like, I think that can open up a lot of opportunity from a cost perspective. And no doubt Google has taken advantage of their monopoly status. And so I think that if that is brought down in any way, yeah, I think it only stands to benefit business owners.
That's a good segue into our next question from Matt. Thank you. So until Google falls from its throne, with Google's strong push towards automated bidding strategies, I'm curious if you found any scenarios where manual CPC still outperforms automation. Are there specific cases where you'd still recommend using manual bidding to maintain more control or drive better results?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Matt. So I'll touch on our strategy on our team right now and the best practices that we follow. My clients always hear me say that Google needs time and data in order for you to see consistent, successful results. And so especially when we're building out a new account or new campaigns within an account, we like to keep it on these more manual bidding strategies before switching things over to an automated, just so that we can gather data in Google's platform before tacking on a target cost per lead or tacking on any sort of automation, because we want Google to really learn the kind of data that we're already bringing in through these campaigns before it decides how to optimize that. So starting out, definitely we do keep things on a more manual system so that our team can have a closer look into that and have more control over those campaigns for the first couple of weeks that they're running. But after that, our strategists typically evaluate whether or not a business is a good fit or campaigns are a good fit to place on a more automated strategy. And so there are some instances, I would say in particular right now, the companies that we typically have on a more like manual CPC rather than placing it on an automated bidding strategy are the smaller companies, maybe with less budget to place into Google Ads, maybe in those more rural areas. We like to have more control over where the budget is going rather than letting Google dictate all of that, because sometimes we can see that get out of hand. And typically with those smaller companies comes a more strict cost per lead or a cap that they really want to keep under in order to stay profitable. And so in order to be cognizant of that, we like to have just more control over those campaigns. So I would say typically the ones with the smaller budget, because then we can optimize those typically a little bit better than sometimes Google's automation can. But I would say with everything, like even with the companies that we are using automated strategies for, it still requires a lot of constant maintenance and optimization on our end. So even if we're not the ones controlling the bidding and entering auctions, we're letting Google do that in real time. Our team is still evaluating all other aspects of campaigns on a regular basis. So we're analyzing ad copy, landing pages, we're analyzing the keywords that we're driving searches for, things like that. We're constantly taking a deeper look into the accounts to make sure that what we're doing is complementing the bidding strategies that we're using for our clients.
Awesome. Thank you for that. All right, let's send things back over to Rachel. Let's talk about a little bit more of a big picture strategy. So how do I build a digital marketing strategy that aligns with my business goals and not just tactics that chase leads?
Yeah, this is a great question because I think it, for a business whose lifeblood is leads, like it's so easy to get caught up in more of the short-term goals, right? Of like leads, immediate sales goals versus like looking at it from a more long-term, sustainable, scalable strategy that is going to, aid in long-term growth. What I always encourage is to kind of take a step back and look at your strategy more holistically. asking yourself, is this helping me build a sustainable, scalable business? Because marketing strategies, they don't just bring in leads, they build momentum over time in your business. And, that's kind of what I call like the multiplier effect, which is where like one effort can drive impact across multiple areas in the future. And so in order to have marketing strategies and focuses that have that multiplier effect, the goal is to kind of stop thinking of your marketing as just like a silo of your business, and understand how every facet of your business contributes to your marketing success. So your company's mission, your company's core values, your bigger picture goals, your short-term goals, your operations, the systems you have in place, right? Like all of these things should inform your marketing and not the other way around. I think oftentimes, and probably more common with smaller businesses, they think, you think the marketing is going to make your business great versus you build a great business and then the marketing, highlights how great your business is. So it kind of all needs to start from an internal standpoint in order for your marketing to be great. And so in order to do that, I definitely think you have to look at your marketing through a more holistic marketing lens. And to do that, you could look up holistic marketing frameworks online, and they're all generally the same, but it typically will focus on like 5 different key areas. Relationship marketing is one. So that's going to be what it sounds like, focusing on relationships. So nurturing, long-term connections and relationships, not just with your customers, but with your employees, if you have partnerships, stakeholders. But obviously for this industry, customers are going to be number one. And it's about not just viewing your customers as transactional, but building trust and staying top of mind with them. So things like personalized follow-up messages after service. We talked earlier about loyalty programs, exclusive offers to your existing customers, things that incentivize them to be loyal customers. I think it's very easy for pest and lawn companies to get into more of a transactional mindset of, you pay us, we give you this, this service. There's not a lot of face time. But yeah, whether it's educational content and advice or tips that you give your customers regularly, engagement on social media, asking for customer feedback and actually, acting on it, like caring what values and priorities your customers have and what their pain points are, and kind of leveraging that information to better your business so that you can sustain and nurture those customers over long periods of time. So that's kind of one, relationship marketing. Internal marketing, and this is basically saying that your team is doing marketing for you, whether you realize it or not. They are your front line. So, your techs, your CSRs, like they need to be bought in. They need to understand your brand's values, how you want to communicate with customers, how to upsell, how to deliver just an overall great customer experience. And then they can become your best marketers for you and help contribute to your marketing, even though they're operations or whatever. And so when they're motivated and aligned with your mission and the goals, it can really be a game changer. And so if you can involve, your entire company into your marketing strategy and making sure that you are delivering a consistent message and experience from, the second someone goes to your website to, 5 years down the line, right? Like that consistency is really key. Yeah, there's a lot to do on the internal marketing side for sure. I feel like I'm already talking so much and I'm very cognizant of time, but integrated marketing, that's going to be more like making sure all of the different pieces of your marketing are working together and cohesively. So if you're doing print, if you're doing digital, if you're doing TV ads, you may be working with different vendors that do all of that, but like, are you bridging the gap between all of them to make sure that you're all working towards the same goal? There's continuity in messaging, in visuals, in branding. How can all these different areas of your business help you reach a goal? So for instance, let's say you have a broader goal for mosquito season of, we want to grow mosquito 50%. Like what are the different areas and the different levers that you can pull to do that? Whether it's your technicians upselling, whether it's an incentive for your sales people to upsell, pest leads on that, whether it's, obviously you're, running a specific campaign for PPC or a specific offer, whether it's utilizing some outbound tactics, right? Like it's kind of pulling all the different pieces to help support an overall goal and making sure that they're all working together and that there's no conflicting priorities. Just taking a more integrative approach with all of, the different things that you're doing to grow your business. One that we don't talk a lot about in this industry is societal marketing, which is, about doing well by doing good and caring about, what your customers care about and what kind of impact that makes on society. And so this may be, for this industry, using and environmentally friendly products and methods, and being able to say that, there's safety in what you do and so forth, and providing transparency and education surrounding environmentally friendly methods, both in your marketing, but also like your day-to-day interactions with your customers, and maybe finding ways to get more involved in your local community and to make more of an impact from that perspective. And then lastly, performance marketing, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's, we need to be data driven. We need to be focused on performance and what is moving the needle. And so making sure that you have the right systems in place to get the data that you need to make decisions that are going to benefit your company. And so things, an example for this is, having the data in place to be able to tell that, let's say you do a lot of door to door, and while it drives a lot of volume as far as number of sales, the retention, the average customer lifespan is much lower with door to door than it is digital or maybe print or other sources, right? And knowing that information and knowing that data can help you put your money in maybe more valuable areas, or maybe scale back, over time, scale back the budget that you're putting towards door to door, because while it is driving that initial volume, maybe it's not supporting your long-term growth goals as well as other channels. So it's a very long-winded way of answering.
Very thoughtful. Yes, a lot of power-packed information in that one. Thank you for that one, Rachel. We are reaching the end. Before we wrap up, I do want to do just a quick lightning round with each of you. So keep it quick, ladies. Let's start with you, Tess. What is one thing every business should do this month for SEO?
I think reviews are a huge piece of it. Google Business Profile is a great way to generate customers for your business. And it's a way that consumers are understanding who you are, what you do, and why they should trust you to go to for lawn and pest control services. So if you have a really well optimized Google Business Profile with a ton of reviews that have social proof as to why consumers should choose you as opposed to a business down the street, it takes some of the lift off of your customer service representatives to convince them once they got on the phone. Your Google Business Profile and the reviews you generate there and the way you respond to reviews can do some of that convincing and get some trust between you and your customer before they even pick up the phone.
Awesome. So SEO, your takeaway and your homework, everyone, is work on your review generation. Danielle, I'm going to hand it over to you. What is one paid strategy that you would recommend testing in the next 30 days?
Yeah, so I have two answers for this, but I'll make it quick, I promise. For anyone who is not currently doing paid advertising, my advice to you would be start simple, but start smart. So begin with your platforms of Google search or local service ads, because these are your intent-driven platforms where people are actively looking for the kinds of services that you're offering. Make sure that your campaigns are set up correctly from day one. Use targeting, build out a solid negative keyword list, and write clear copy that's aligned with your business values. And then for anyone who is a veteran in paid advertising and you're already running these, my advice is to align your messaging. A lot of what we were talking about throughout this webinar, make sure that your ads, your landing pages, every touch point that you're sending people to, your CSRs and their scripts, make sure that all of that is consistent and aligns with your business values, and make sure if there's a way that you can make that competitive and differentiate that from others in your area, to do that as well, and be loud.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Rachel, over to you for our final question. What's one big picture mindset shift that businesses should make this year when it comes to digital marketing?
Kind of going off what I just said before of just not looking at your marketing in such a silo, especially if you outsource it to a vendor, of just my marketing is this and my operations is this. I mean, they are intertwined just innately, and they will always be. So, what more can you do to bring your operations into your marketing, and what more can you do to bring your marketing into your operation? So if you are outsourcing your marketing, what information from the operational side can you bring into your marketing, whether that's getting your digital marketing team to maybe talk to one of your technicians, talk to your CSR, have them be able to give a different perspective on what customer pain points are, or what kinds of questions customers or prospective customers ask when they're signing up, or what their concerns are, things like that. Like, I think just finding ways to integrate your operations and your marketing and not keeping them so siloed. And maybe that can be, again, start with some small goals and thinking about how are the different ways that both operations, sales, and marketing can contribute to that goal, whether it's, let's say there's a seasonal goal related to mosquito or termite or whatever, kind of set a big picture goal and then think of how all the different areas in your business can help support that goal, and just kind of set some stretch goals and see how it goes.
Awesome. On that note, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate your engagement and all of your questions. Thank you to our panelists, our speakers, for all of their insights. I guess my one thing to add is that your partnership with your marketing team, whether that is Coalmarch or someone else, is critical. Sharing feedback, customer insights, what's happening on the ground helps us shape strategies that actually align with those goals that we've talked about today. If you're looking for more information about Coalmarch, or just want to dive deeper into anything that we talked about, or you just need some support with your strategy, head over to coalmarch.com, or feel free to reach out to us directly via the email that you'll receive afterwards, and we are happy to help. Thanks again for joining us today. Keep an eye out for future webinars. Please join us, submit feedback on the topics, things you guys would like to hear about. But we've got more great things coming your way. So thank you all so much for joining.
Thank you. Also, if you like this Q&A format versus a more presentation style format, please give us that feedback, because we're definitely looking to do more of this. And yeah, we love the engagement. So we'd love to hear if you prefer this.
Awesome. Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you.